Moving on, I'd like to invite our next speaker. I'm very interested in this topic because I find myself in the arts, and this has to do with tourism. This is a topic that says how influencers can use tourism as a tool in the development of Africa. Please welcome Mr. Jibola Oluseye, who is the founder of Taste of Africa Vibes, all the way from Nigeria. Mr. Oluseye, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be among you, and I found it as a privilege also to listen to amazing speakers. In fact, I'm inspired, I'm encouraged, and I get more reason to continue to be in the cycle of influencer like you. So once again, you can also congratulate yourself for being an influencer in your own space. Congratulations to you. It's one thing to influence, it's another thing to influence yourself. To influence people and to influence yourself. When you influence yourself, you'll be able to pick one or two things that you want to use to contribute to the world. For me, I am honored to be here today to talk about tourism, how influencers can have an impact in the tourism space today. You will agree with me that tourism is life, right? When you move from one place to another, you traveled. And what have you done? You've carried out an act of tourism. You leave your home, you go to a restaurant, you go on sightseeing. Tourism is everywhere. And it's now currently the biggest industry in the whole world when it comes to GDP. Are you not amazed with that? We're not even talking about the crude oil or maybe the telecom. No, it's tourism. So every country that has gotten it right with tourism, in sight of God and even humans, they are the richest. So for we influencers, we have this opportunity today to use our social media network to influence. Many of us are followers, millions, people who are looking up to us. We have become opinion leaders. We are the one driving the force of humans' ideas. We are the ones looking at the rooms the world are looking up to like, what next? Now imagine you now influencing something that has to do with life, tourism. Should we take that serious? Yes. Because we think of every other thing possible when we are alive. And that is why we want to give a key attention to this part. The tourism industry in Africa is a very big market. We're talking of culture, we're talking of tradition, we're talking of history, we're talking of entertainment. I believe here in Ghana you have your own festival, right? A lot of them. And I think very soon a lot will be coming up. When you come to Nigeria, we have a festival, we have culture, we have diversity in the tradition, which make people to want to move from one place to another to see what there has to do. So you being an influencer and you are having a contribution to the tourism space, it's a very interesting thing. So we want to encourage influencers to continue to see to the need of the tourism space. You don't want to leave it alone to the travel agencies, to the airlines, to the hoteliers. No. It is our responsibility to help the world to see what African has or has to offer when it comes to tourism. On your social media space, just imagine you as an influencer happen to go to a resort or maybe a restaurant. After finishing eating, you ate your food, you enjoyed it, and you drop a review, pictures and everything. And then what have you done? You've preached the gospel of that place, of that specific restaurant, to your entire followers, to the world at large. And that is why we need the input of the influencers to look into this area. It's not only that, you may now want to start to wonder, does it really worth it? Does it make sense? Because while we are calling ourselves influencers, we are talking about the tourism space, we talk about the benefit also. Yes, like I mentioned earlier, the biggest industry in the whole world is the tourism space, which generates a lot of about 5.5 billion GDP last year, which keep growing over time. So as influencers, we want to be intentional. Sometimes we always wonder, big is not always better. How do I mean? We want to think of, until I go and promote a very big restaurant, a five-star hotel, a five-star restaurant. No. Do you think of the woman on the street? Maybe doing what we call in Nigeria, pop-off. Do you have it here in Ghana? I want to believe so. Do you think of how you can use your own space to promote that young guy in the local area who is thinking of doing something, probably is into art and craft, something unique? Can you use your story and your influencer space to promote such a person? This is our responsibility. This is my responsibility. That is your responsibility. We all want to come together to contribute to the tourism in Africa. And how can we do that? We want to discover unique potentials, unique ideas, people who are doing extraordinary things. Look around us. Like I mentioned some restaurants, I mentioned some tourist attraction. Gone are the days you want to travel, you have to go to the travel agent's office. These days, how many of you, some of you have traveled out here and all you did everything from where? Online, right? Maybe on getting to your destination, you're meeting your host who is to take you around. So you can now see that many people, the new media now is the social media, and that is why we are called influencers. Because where is our office? Social media. Every one of us here, probably we are all active on all the social, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. So we want to bring all tourism products, all tourism ideas. We want to bring it into our space. We want to influence it, knowing that people are there looking out. They want to see what we have. The nature wonders. Africa is home to some of the world's most awe-inspiring landscapes, including the Serengeti in the East Africa, Victoria Falls, the Sahara Desert, and many other places that are very interesting that the world wants to see. Do you all believe that despite the GDP in the tourism space, Africa is really lacking behind? Do you agree to that? Because what comes to the mind of people who are looking at Africa? War, disease, right? When you look at some movies, Hotel Rwanda, sometimes in April, what does those movies promote? War. And they went home with billions of dollars, right? Can we all change the narrative altogether as influencers? Using our cameras, using our story, becoming intentional with content creating, with storytelling. Tell this beautiful story about Africa. If we don't tell our story, who's going to tell our story for us? No one. If we continue to push the negative, fine, they are happening. We are not disputing that. We are not saying these things don't happen. Do you want to tell me the United States of America is 100% safe? Today, someone pick up a gun and shot down someone. But if we all are given the opportunity, okay, let's just go to America in a vacation. Are we going to say no? It's because what they are doing, what? Pushing out. So what are we pushing out for our country? As a Ghanaian, as a Nigerian, what are you pushing out? Leave the bad story to the media. The bad story already have enough carrier. CNN, BBC, and the likes, they pick as many as they want. For you and I, which side are we going to stay? The bad side or the good side? We want to be intentional with the good stories of Africa. And like many of the speakers have mentioned, be honest when it comes to the information you're giving out. If you go to a place, probably a tourist attraction, get good information and put it there in your own space. Encourage these ones who are striving to do one or two things about tourism in Africa. If we do that, I can assure you, we all are contributing. Sometimes it's not always about the money. It's not about the money. You don't expect, that big hotel needs to give me money to push them. Fine, probably those who have arrived, the so-called five-star brands. But when, like I mentioned, those ones who are just coming up, we need to push them, we need to encourage them. If we do that, we are supporting or influencing the tourism space here in Africa. We want to leverage on influencers to develop African tourism. Influencers have the power to tell compelling story that goes to their audience. African tourism boards and businesses can tap into storytellers. Some months ago in Nigeria, we had the first African Travel Content Creator Conference, which has to do with gathering of content creators so that they can come together, collaborate, teamwork. You see, one beautiful thing about collaboration is it helps to bring ideas together. It's like a room whereby you bring about various colors. Let's assume everyone here in this hall now we're putting on black or white. How do you think the hall is going to look like? Boring, right? So can you see collaboration as combination of beautiful colors? Blue, yellow. I mean, it's going to make the whole thing look beautiful. So don't see the people in the space you have as a challenge. People want to bring it down. No, come together. At the top, it's called collaboration. At the bottom, it's called what? Competition. So where are you going to stay? At the top, right? So use your influence to push the African tourism space in a way that you can collaborate with fellow influencers. Yes, you may be wondering, I'm just an influencer. I don't belong to the tourism space. But like I said, tourism is life. Every day we practice an act of tourism. We travel all the way from Nigeria down to this place. Some of us, probably you're staying in one part of Ghana to come to this place. We've done 1 or 2 tourism for today. So probably when you're coming on the road, you saw the beautiful environment, you bring out your phone, your camera, and then you start taking the pictures, recording the videos, you bring it to the social media, you do your editing, attach a very nice music to it, and then before you know it, you start trending. It's like, oh, where's this place? Where's this place? It's lovely, it's amazing. We want to be what? Intentional. And how can we do that? Find a niche. Even though if you're not in the tourism space, find a niche. It could be food, it could be fashion, it could be music, it could be people, it could be language. Find a niche and let the world see. Remember, we are talking of the African tourism, which is really lacking behind. I can assure you the world is lacking. And the beautiful thing of when you find your niche is there are enough audience on the social media space. I would just like to say a little story. During the lockdown, I started my community, that's Taste of African Vibes, with just 10 people. And what brought about the ideas? I was like, okay, now we can't travel. Does that mean we are not going to travel? No. Let's go to this digital space. On social media, we started Taste of African Vibes, whereby we started calling on people. Okay, you've been to so place in Africa. Come on, bring your story. Let's hear from you. Let's see your fine picture. And people start sharing it. From 10 members today, we're over 53,000 members from all over the world. And as of last year, this same community won the Facebook Accelerator Program 2022-2023. So and it starts from where? Attaching to your niche, finding your niche, telling your story. I'm telling you, good story brings good money. Good story brings what? Good money. Tell the good story about Africa. In its fashion, the food, the music. I'm telling you, over time, someone somewhere will reach out to you. It's like you're planting a coconut tree. When you plant it in 2023, maybe in the next 4 years, you start reaping it. So it's called for being patient and then being intentional and being consistent in whatever you're doing. So for tourism, we need people like that. We need influencers like you to be consistent in promoting tourism space. Never go a day, never go a week, never go a month without talking about tourism. From your fashion, the way you dress, the language, probably you go to a place, you listen to a unique language, bring it on the record, bring it on the social media space. Infrastructure development, which we also want to use to fully enhance the potentials of influencers. African nation, well, that has to do with those who are at the top, the government. They need to do more because we are ready to use our cameras, our pen to write the story. But then, because we want to be intentional, we want to be honest, I'm not going to go to a restaurant whereby the food is not sweet and you expect me to give you a review on the social media. Am I going to do that? No, that is going to affect my credibility. So we want to be honest. We want to be intentional. So we are calling on the government officials all across Africa to please continue to put in good infrastructure whereby people can really have and enjoy their time when they visit Africa. Apart from that, collaborating with influencers have to collaborate with travel agents, airlines, and the likes. Oftentimes we see in the music space, you see when a brand is to unveil, they go and call the musicians and call them out, oh, come and promote this for us. Are we going to have a time whereby people in the tourism space will be called upon to promote 1 or 2 things? I think that time depends on how you and I are making tourism to be important in Africa by what we post out there on social media. If you go to a place, like I mentioned, push it out. Let the world see what Africa has to offer. So we want to continue to put in all these things and continue to tell the beautiful story. We want to continue to collaborate to pick the grassroots. Let's go to the grassroots, those who are just coming up. Places, museums, hotels, restaurants, resorts, parks that are just coming up. If I'm coming to Ghana and you're an influencer, before going to a website, before going to any website, typing a website to think of what to do in Ghana, I'll first go to the social media space. Am I right? Yes, I'll go to Facebook or Instagram and type things to do in Ghana. Then I'll start seeing places. And then you can now ask yourself, how well have I done? What is my contribution to what I'm getting as a Ghanaian? Am I using the hashtags? So we want to reach out. We want to continue to do this. We want to make sure that the big influencers in the industry, which I believe every one of us here are, we want to use our space to promote the African tourism. Like I said, no one is going to tell our story for us. And it is now, because this is the generation we've been waiting for. That's tomorrow. 90% of the population in Africa are what? Youth. So and on social media, on the Facebook algorithm, it shows that 60% of Africans are youths that are active on social media. Promoting what? So the question, who is going to answer that? You and I. So what are you using your phone to do? Tell the beautiful story about Africa. We have beautiful cultures. Our culture, foods, entertainment, so amazing. We need to tell our story ourselves. While we will continue to hope that things get better for the African tourism in terms of government official being intentional and continue to put in adequate infrastructures, and the citizens continue to have an easy way to travel across Africa. We really hope that. But until then, let us continue to do our best. Influencers matters. Influencers are the real deal for the marketing space of anything you are promoting. So for we in the tourism space, we are appealing to all influencers. It is a call on us. When you see politicians, when you see people trying to push their brand or whatever, you see the extent they're going, right? So how much more we should be doing? You see somebody, some of us here may not have met a specific musician, but you always say, it's my fans. I'm his fans. I'm following this person. The same spirit we want to take into the tourism space. The tourism space is really lacking behind, and I can tell you that, particularly African tourism. So let us continue to push. There's no much talking in tourism. The real language in tourism is practical aspect. We can stay here from today to tomorrow, talk about tourism. But if we don't act, nothing will happen. So one of the best ways to show that we are really intentional and ready to take the tourism space of African tourism to the next level is what we bring to the social space when we have our material, our cameras, our message. We want to bring them to the social media space and continue to do what? To tell the beautiful story about Africa. Reach out, tag all these travel agencies, airlines, and the like. Let them know you can push this for them. Even if they don't give you attention, over time, it will happen. And presently, the Meta, that is Facebook itself, they are really looking forward for people with good ideas. And I can tell you, tourism is one of the key areas Facebook is really looking to. I'm also a Facebook community manager, and I can assure you, they are not, apart from other aspect that has to do with music, entertainment, the tourism space is really lacking. They are really looking for people, influencers who can push tourism, particularly in Africa. So anything you're picking, just create a niche. You may want to start to do the food tourism, going from one place to another, talking about food. Create a community of people who have the like mind like you about food. It could be dressing, it could be language. We have the like of people who here in Ghana who I can call my icon, Wandemaya. We all know what he's doing, right? I mean, it's somebody I really adore a lot. Going about changing the narrative about Africa, that's what we call an influencer. We have the like of Tayo I know in Nigeria also. So these ones have really set the pedigree for us, whereby we all as influencers can leverage on to see how we can build the tourism space in Africa. Over time, now Wandemaya is being invited by the government officials of each country all across Africa. I think of recent is in Angola also. It didn't start today. It's been building. The same thing as influencers, we want to be intentional. Start local, but think global. It really helps. And that is exactly how we want to take the spirit of African tourism to the next level. So in conclusion, influencers have the power to transform African tourism by showcasing its culture, its nature wonders, and its amazing, endless passion that it offers to the world. So I want to encourage every one of us to continue to use our influence to promote the African tourism to the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's always good to have a speech from people with presidential height, you know. And I mean, it's usually when a man of this height stands to talk to us, we have fellow Ghanaians. So today we're actually being inspired. And I hope you've learned a lot. He said, start local, but think international. That was what I took after everything. Start local, but, think